Hello, hello.
Hey, how we doing?
Good morning. Very good.
What time is it for you?
It's 2 p.m. for me. These punk faces look so good up here in the panel, no?
I know. Look at the four of us.
You're right.
GM, what's up, everyone?
Good morning, Dr. Crypto.
How are you, buddy? How's things? How's life? Everyone good?
Very good. Max, are
Awesome.
you listening? Do you want to pop on? Send a request, Maxwell.
I'm still figuring out these spaces controls. Pretty simple, but takes getting used to.
What's up, Velco? Everything good?
Everything is good. It's 8 a.m. here in Nashville. Just got up. Uh, gonna do this for an hour, talk about what's new, and then pivot back to the consulting grind.
Love it. Yeah, it's about, what time is it here? 9 a.m. here in Florida. Then, like, the next 2 weeks, I'll be going through, like, four different time changes because I'm going to Europe this week and back, and our time changes. It's like my head's going to be spinning.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
you're coming to Europe.
Yeah, I'm coming Wednesday. I'll be in Poland for a couple weeks.
Nice, nice. Is it some punks club related stuff?
No, it's that's I'll like hit you off offline, but that's where my wife's from, and
Oh, yeah, yeah, okay.
my daughter's actually in school there.
Okay,
So
cool, cool, cool.
actually, and I'm gonna hang out with like Wojtek and Patrick and all those guys. So 'cause that's
Nice,
where they
nice,
are at
nice.
too from the club. So everyone's there. It's actually cool. When I go see my kid, I get to hang out with a bunch of punks.
It's always fun, always fun.
Yeah, it's definitely fun.
Yeah, we missed you in Paris, by the way. He was
I know. Thank you. I was so upset I couldn't go. Dude, it looked like so much fun. It looked like a blast.
it was indeed.
How big were what was the biggest punk meetup you went to in Paris?
So it was definitely the punks brunch. And I would say 80 punks, 80 to 90 punks, I would say. But
Holy
then
crap.
collectively probably owning like 700 to 1,000 punks. So it was insane.
Woo, nuts.
You know,
That's
when you're
crazy.
like chatting and you're between Token Angels and Beauty and the Punk, you're like, all right, I'm in the right room here.
In the right room. Yeah, definitely that's the right spot to get off the elevator. It's crazy.
Morning, guys.
Yeah,
Can you hear
82.
me
That might
okay?
be the record. Yeah, we can.
Awesome.
What's up,
So,
dude?
sup. Morning. Um, this is a rookie mistake. I tried logging on to Spaces on my desktop and obviously encountered some trouble there. I think it's only mobile only, right?
I think
Yeah,
so. I think so.
for speaking.
Rookie mistake.
What time
Yeah,
is
hey,
it there, Maxwell?
It's nine o'clock, so
Okay, 9 p.m.
it's
Okay.
it's not too bad. What about you guys? Is it early morning?
I'm 8 a.m.
Oh wow.
Maxwell GM.
GM.
Yeah, man, 9 a.m. here in Florida. I think this is the first time we've ever spoken, bro. What's up?
Yeah, man. What's up? What's up? No, good to hear your
Just
voice.
having my morning coffee, just watching a little bit of the numbers as we were talking here. Things are kind of going crazy.
We
Good.
all are. We all are.
Positive
It's like
vibes.
we don't know what to think, right? Like you got these number reports coming in. It's like things are just not responding to what like a lot of people thought they would be responding like. So it's kind of fun to watch.
What?
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, huh? The past couple of days.
Yeah, definitely a lot of uncertainty, but I mean, I just recommend I mean, this is like a bunch of OGs in this space, but like I tell everyone, let's just have a bunch of dry powder sitting around because I mean, it's not going to last forever. I mean, I mean, these like typically retrace, when it's like bouncing this hard, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, you never know.
What's
But
what's a
I'm kind of with you on that.
what's a play here,
Yeah, it's
guys?
scary. It's like you want to just jump in, right? And it's like, you want to start playing again, but you just know like it might not be like it might be a fake out a little bit. I don't know. I'm just watching it. I'm sure we all are.
So the dry powder, what levels would you be thinking about to get in?
um, like BTC, you mean, or like ETH?
Let's say BTC because that's the kind of the big mover here, which is I find quite interesting actually.
I mean, I've been playing with it. Honestly, I've been a holder for a while. So, I mean, I always keep like a BTC account that I just flip around on, So,
Yeah.
um, so I'll buy in the 20s and I'll resell like, in like 25 again. So like I might see, I'm not a huge chart person with that. It's more just kind of where I'm feeling it at the time, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm sure if I looked at it a little bit deeper, but I mean, at this one account I just been playing with since like the market's been a little bit slower, I just want to see what I could turn some numbers into. And, so I just been like, honestly, I'll be in the car, I'll be sitting in the office and I'll just buy or sell stuff, and it's just, I mean, I'm not taking it real serious.
I always wonder, like, given like the craziness of the weekend and everybody just staying up so late, being in war rooms and like 10,000 person Twitter spaces trying to unravel this whole thing, does it like affect their cognitive function to the degree that the market just like gets all fucked on Monday anyways, regardless of the macro news?
Because we're all sleep deprived and we're all like
Yeah.
delusional.
Yeah,
That's
I'm so tired. Like I still have my fingers in some like venture capital work. And like when you have a portfolio of startups, and like 60%, 70% of them work with Silicon Valley Bank, it just, oh man, like I can't imagine how they feel, because like, that really is their lives. We're sort of just like people on the sideline rooting for them and giving them capital and helping out, when we can. Like, of course, the VC, like, let me know how I can help you meme. But man, it was just such a wild weekend.
Oh, it's a wild weekend too. For our friends in the like the Web 2 companies. I mean, I would just reach out to them as a friend and just to make sure everything's all right with those guys and also girls because this effect. I mean, people that worked at Pinterest or all these different Web 2 companies that that trickle down effect is going to be felt for sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's some relief right now, but there's still so much uncertainty within these small banks that it will be felt. It's just like the matter of like how big it'll be felt.
Yeah, I mean, I personally got lucky. Like I mean, I feel lucky that I haven't got seriously burned at all, since like joining punks in 2017 or crypto like earlier. Like nothing terrible has happened to me. Knock on wood. But this was like almost the closest thing. Like I actually collect all of my consulting business revenues in USDC,
Hmm.
and sometimes like depending on when the client pays the invoice and when my automated like system to sell my USDC and convert it into fiat
Right.
happens, like I can have exposure for longer than I intended. Like because I invoice on the month, and if I miss that like auto sell
Oh
date,
yeah, 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 yeah.
then I'm basically exposed to USDC for a while, which like in normal times, like whatever, right? It's USDC,
Correct.
it's fine. But like actually no. So I by like 3 days dodged like having to ride through that like dip and repeg. I mean, has it even repegged? I haven't even looked in the past like 24 hours.
So, let me see. SEC. I'm checking right now what it's at.
Well, how did you feel, Valko, when you saw it unpeg? I mean, you had, I guess, significant exposure there.
Not a lot. Like I just collect my monthly revenues for my consulting firm mainly in
Okay.
USDC, and fortunately, my bot had like automatically sold, like exited to like my actual bank account, so I was fine. But had I missed
Mm.
that by like a few days, then I would have had to ride from the like whatever, 100 cents on the dollar to 90 cents on the dollar, and I guess back up.
And so, which camp were you in? Because I essentially figured that there were two camps of people. The first one being this is going to repeg back to $1, and then you had the second camp of people who were like, "Oh my God, this is like a Luna replay, and it's going to zero." So how did you feel about it? Kind of
I
around
mean,
90 cents.
hindsight's 2020, right? It's easy to say I knew it was going to repeg, but to be honest, I did have a suspicion it was going to repeg, but like not enough to like put my dick on the chopping block and like put my life savings into USDC. Like I had liquid cash, like I could have bet on that and put my money where my mouth is, but I didn't. So I surely didn't have the conviction that I think some people did. And I know like some friends that like just wrote it out, and that's its own conviction, not selling at the dip. So, I commend people, I guess, for their balls of steel.
Yeah, it's a pretty big balls move. I have some friends that actually like pretty much leveled up just over the weekend, man. Just like buying this dip, and when it was unpegged, and it's just like it's like you said, I'm not putting my dick on the chopping block for that one for sure. But like, that was kind of crazy to see. But some people definitely made a big bag off of the weekend.
Yeah, but how would you know at what price to buy the USDC dip, right? Is it like 95 cents, 90 cents? Like, how do you actually know how low it goes?
Hey, man, the market works in mysterious ways. There really is no knowing. You just kind of got to go for it. I think people are better at predicting the weather than they are at predicting the market. And we're actually pretty fucking bad at predicting the weather still.
True story.
Well, it's exciting to see all these punks in here. Anyone who joined, you know, we're still figuring out, I think, the exact purpose of this space. But me and Forever Punks have been wanting to do more spaces, like connect with more punks, connect with more people in the Web3 community. Um, but, where I'm at with this is like, I think this is a really good platform for punks to get together, share stories, talk about what we're building, Web3 entrepreneurship, existing Web3 trends with kind of the overarching theme of like, the punks is probably the greatest club on the fucking internet. And I think collectively we have a tremendous amount of wisdom. And, I'm hoping that this podcast can be a platform and a space and a place to gather for punks to share that collective wisdom out with the world. So I'm really excited to be up on stage, with some of my good friends in the space, some who I've connected with IRL, some who I haven't, but have connected with several times over Google Meets and stuff, Dr. Crypto, Forever Punk, and Maxwell here. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. If anybody else up here wants to chime in, I know this is a very ad hoc first time space, but that's my thinking, and I think we can turn it into a pretty cool thing and not limit it to just punks. Like I think punks have a lot of collective knowledge to share, but there's tons of stuff to talk about on the Web3 trend front that'll allow us to be agile and keep the topic broad and interesting and moving.
Yeah, and feel free to retweet the link to this spaces so other people can join. I just posted it in the Punks Telegram group, and I see a couple of people came over from there. And yeah, I was thinking of maybe discussing a couple of topics that came up today. I guess one that we saw, all of us, is like Meta is shutting down NFTs on Instagram. Did you guys see that? And what were your initial thoughts?
Have fun staying poor.
I thought I saw a tweet today. I think it was by Gwendal, and he was like, "See you in the next bull run," you know. And
Yeah, that sounds kind of accurate. I mean, it's like kind of sad to see that shit happen, but at the same time, like, I imagine if you look at the numbers from the inside as like a product person there, like there probably is a like nominally low amount of interest in the NFT products. Like the usage relative to the lift they're putting in, it's just probably not paying off. I mean, maybe they should have stuck it out longer, but I think that's the cold hard truth. Like I recently got a couple of these like Me6 bots, like the Discord bot, right? It's like in 19.5 million servers. It might be the most popular bot out there in the world. And I bought these passes at a discount because I couldn't imagine like why they were trading below the price of like their subscriptions like in Web 2. Like literally you could get this NFT which gives you access to all of Me6's shit for less than their lifetime pass in Web 2, which is $80 a month. This NFT was trading at like $40 a month. So I like swept a few up just on that arbitrage opportunity without even doing much research. But when I looked into it, they basically they basically suffered a similar fate to Meta, where they were like, look, like we've been trying this Web3 shit, but like, only like 0.5% of our user base is actually using these features or cares about these features. So were actually just like putting it all on pause. And that was like, quote, the soft drug that I think caused their prices to like dip to such a like huge discount.
So you're mentioning a kind of an onboarding problem over there as well, no? Like, because that's what I felt with the Instagram attempt, is that you still needed like MetaMask. You had to connect your MetaMask wallet, and for like a normal Web2 user, it felt like it was still a big ask to do. And
Yeah, I mean, look, that could be it, right? It could just be like a broader product market fit issue. Like, I don't really know, but I think the reality is like these teams took a leap of faith on Web3 and like stuck it out for a bit, and then for whatever reasons, the numbers were telling them like there's not enough interest in this yet.
Yeah, I
well,
mean,
my
sorry.
maybe if I can just add one more thing, like that, my feeling with that feature, because I used the feature, and you could add an NFT, and it was not, there was like no link to Etherscan, no link to OpenSea, no link to the blockchain. My feeling was that the guys that developed the feature were not like Web3 native people. So I was thinking like more kind of Web2 developer product kind of guys. Whereas if you use stuff like Blur and OpenSea, you can see that the people there are like knee deep into Web3.
Yeah, no, I see that. I mean, they could definitely benefit from hiring everyone up here on stage, obviously, and in this room. Zuck, if you're hearing us, we're open to an offer.
I was gonna say real quick what you were saying, Forever Punk. Just like the lack of like the links to the proper sources, right? But I mean, I also think this could be an allocation of resources. Like, I agree with, I think it was you, Forever Punk, that said that these weren't Web3 native people, presumably. And I think you're probably right. And they were probably just shifted off of another project onto that project, and shifted off of that project and onto a new project. Right? I mean, that's the way it goes, I think. And until these companies realize it takes people like you and Velco and probably a lot of people in this room to, and I'm not saying we're going to solve their problem, right? But like, you need users who like live and breathe this shit every day.
True.
Otherwise, it's not going to work. I mean, it's so apparent in all these Web twos that have come in here. Like, well, I don't want to name names, but like, and then just totally fail, like slow rug. It's crazy.
Quentin, you popped up on stage. How's it going?
Very good, very good. And you, can you hear me?
Yeah, a bit fuzzy, but go ahead.
Is it better now? Otherwise, I grab my headphone.
Yeah, maybe grab your headphone. Until then, I met Quentin in person for the first time in Paris a couple of weeks ago. So it's quite funny now, because we've been doing a couple of spaces together with him, and then meeting in person in Paris. I think we were like on a boat restaurant, and it was quite nice to connect over there. But yeah, and in the meantime, if anyone else wants to hop on stage, just send a request. I see we have Rodo, Aaron, Lanamour, who I also met in Paris on that boat. So feel free to hop up, anyone.
Yeah, I'm checking the requests. Derek, I'm getting him up, if that's how it's pronounced. God, his punk is so cool. Very hardo, badass looking punk.
And I think Derek is a fairly new punk. Is that right? I think
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Maybe he got his punk recently. But Quentin, how's your mic doing?
Yeah, can you hear me better?
Yeah, perfect.
And yeah, Derek is a new punk holder, which is from Japan. Very cool artist. He's doing awesome art. Very cool. And yeah, I wanted to bounce back upon what Valko was saying. And it's funny because I was actually debating, I mean, not really debating, but more explaining my POV on this subject on LinkedIn today. And I think we always focus about and always like point saying, okay, we don't have the adoption because it's so technical, it's so hard to buy NFT, to buy crypto, to get a ledger, to get a wallet, blah blah blah. But for me, I think, of course, it's in a way it can like delay the adoption, but for me I think it's just because, and I won't talk about crypto because it's different, but mostly NFT. It's just because it's two things for me. On the marketing side is we can't really like let the customer or whatever the people that are interested by the NFT, we can't really market well in terms of the perceived value. Like they don't really see, whoa, why is so much interesting for me to get an NFT? And also maybe there is, if they don't see it, is because we are not really able to provide a really cool utility yet for NFT project. So I think if we were able to, as a founder, of course, were able to really explain well, educate and market it well, I'm pretty sure people will like turn the gen very, very quick. It just, of course, again, technical is an aspect, but I think it's more related to the market and how we display our NFT.
I love that. That's a really cool take. Yeah, I mean, it's I think it was a big step forward when Twitter introduced the hexagon and you could like really verifiably show your NFT and prove you were part of a community. And it's a bummer to see like Facebook or Meta, whatever the fuck you want to call them, like regressing in that regard. But we also didn't really care that much about their product. Twitter's our home, so I'm happy we have the hexagon here. But I'm really hoping that we see more features added soon that like help with discoverability. Excuse me, specifically with like finding your friends. Like I've talked, I think, to a few people about this idea, but like on Discord, it's so easy to like find your fellow token holders of a collection, right? Like, you use Collabland or Guild.xyz to connect your wallet, and then you get a role that like proves like cryptographically that you hold insert NFT, right? But like on Twitter, there's actually like no way to like figure out like does this person hold that NFT or not unless they have like a cryptographic signature um, somewhere linked in their profile, which is how the punks all used to do it, or they're playing for Twitter Blue, of course, and then have the hexagon. But I would love for there to be like Twitter lists based on smart contracts that update in real time. I think that would be like so cool. Like the connection between like an individual, their fellow holders, and the collection itself, like that's like the most atomic like item or like building block in the Web3 ecosystem in terms of like the social graph, right? Like it's literally the smallest fundamental building block that all other things are built off of. And like that building block is easily visible in Discord, but it's like not at all visible here on Twitter unless you want to just like rely on like people updating their Twitter lists, which like obviously have problems. I mean, heck, like even me sitting here on stage, like I see all these beautiful punks and familiar names, but like I got to double check that it's not some like poser, like it's actually still really hard to tell. And I think like once we can like really drill down to like what these fundamental building blocks of this space are and like show them in more meaningful ways, like the hexagon, that like that stuff's going to challenge mass adoption equally as the onboarding issues.
That's hi everyone. Really like your view, Valko, and I joined a bit late, but just wanted to. It made me really think. What would be if you think about it, what would be we can debate about the value of NFT if Twitter wasn't a thing, right? Is Twitter a big part of the NFT success, or is because obviously given the recent news from Instagram, Twitter really is pro crypto, really is pro NFT, and I was really thinking about Twitter as the best way to showcase NFTs, and are we gonna have something more relevant than Twitter in the near future to display our NFT to the mass? Like it's a true question I have for you guys today.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I think the whole crypto culture and NFT culture, like, it is so tightly integrated with Twitter because that is our home. But I think, like, we would have found a home anyways. Like, it might have been a different platform in a different world or a different timeline. But I think, like, NFTs and blockchain and all of this was inevitable, and Twitter kind of was just the best option of the Web2 social platforms. And there's probably a number of reasons why that was the case. Not just like meme lord Elon being at the helm, but like it also just, I think, it seems to just be like a better platform for like free speech and pseudo anonymity than the other options. But it is still a bit ironic that we're using a Web 2 platform when we're all like decentralization and Web3 maxis. And I know a lot of people like to call that out, but at the end of the day, like none of the Web3 platforms have like real network effects. So it's like hard to use them as like a social outlet when you're just like the only person online with like 10 other people. But with all that being said, I think decentralized social networks and the whole meaning of like network effects and the cold start problem are being completely reinvented. Like I think a good example is like historically, if you wanted to start a marketplace online, you had to solve like the supply side of the equation, right? You had to make sure that there were vendors on your fucking site selling shit. But now, like anybody and their mother could start up a NFT marketplace and like immediately solve the like NFTs supply side problem. But of course, there's like newfound problems, right? Like there's a supply side problem with regards to getting liquidity on the platform, and then obviously there's the demand side of like getting users. But yeah, I think with the social networks, it's tough. Like the network effects are hard to overcome, so it's hard for Web3 social networks to like break through. But like I think some are making their way slowly but surely, and I also think the way you approach and the network effect problem itself have changed a bit. Um, now that basically our underlying architecture is very different.
So yeah, speaking of like network effects, maybe I'd like to take your view, Dr. Crypto, because I know you're involved a lot with Punks Club, right? So Punks Club would be a Web3 native social media platform that I guess wouldn't have the reach and the network effect that Facebook or Twitter has. Like how do you see it being more integrated with these?
Um, how does I? I'm sorry. Let me rephrase the question. Like, how is Punk's Club like going to
Well, because
integrate?
on one hand you have like the Web2 platforms like Facebook and Twitter with this huge network effect, but are not native Web3. And
Sure.
then you have something like much smaller, like a Punks Club, who is like from the grounds up native Web3. You like
Right.
sign in with your wallet, like everything's verified,
Right.
and it's just like. And this is maybe a question to the whole room: is it? Do we think that in 5 years or 10 years, the leading like social media platform will be a Web2 that has become a Web3 company, or some brand new Web3 company that just
I
emerged?
I think it'll be Web3, but I mean, just to answer your question real quick. So, without getting into a ton of detail right at the second, but with using like, for example, like the reach is obviously through Punk's Club right now, for example, it's smaller obviously than the daily users on Twitter. So that reach isn't there, but the curated reach is there, right? So like for example, Punk's Club, Apes, Meebits, all of those are like those are your curated, like I would say your clubs, right? So then from there, like with MetaFabric is to continue that fabric, or I mean, for I don't really mean a pun intended, but to carry that web over to other communities to get our reach larger, to incorporate those clubs into the ecosystem, but to like each club would be token gated to its own um project, obviously, but there would be some communication abilities from all of the collections that we work with.
Yep,
That
yep.
makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. I'm just thinking that, like, putting it this way, it has this exclusivity, like, woven into it by definition. Whereas I'm thinking that to gain this exponential network effect, like, it really should be like free to join and have like no barrier of entrance. And I'm just like thinking out loud here that you have these two conflicting kind of sides of the equation. One where you want like the network effects, and the other side where you want kind of this token gating type verification system in place. I just don't know what the solution is, really.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm like really bullish, obviously, on Web3 and blockchain. I personally think blockchain's the most freedom enabling technology on the planet. But if I were to really put a guess on it, like I think in 3 years, 5 years, like what's more likely is probably like Web3 networks are still like in their growth phase, and hopefully we'll see the introduction of more Web3 features on Web2 platforms. Like I think what Twitter did is like and actually like it's a great example of what other platforms can do, and they're just scratching the surface, right? Like a verified PFP is quite literally like the most surface level thing you could think of or do, but it's still meaningful, right? And I think other platforms are going to have to figure out how to do that. But for the Web3 platforms that are trying to start from the ground up, I actually think Punks Club has a really great approach, right? Like it's hard to come out of the gates with a social platform that like the world cares about, or like even like an entire region cares about. But I think when you move carefully from community to community, you can like conquer that cold start problem in a sort of like little micro realm of its own, right? Like you don't want to get on Tinder if there's just 3 swipes and you're done. Um, but like, Punks Club is like cool because actually like over 10% of the CryptoPunk wallets are in Punks Club. So it might not be a meaningful network to anyone who's not a punk, but it's actually a very meaningful network to anyone that is a punk. And I think that's a really cool way to like start with one core community, move to adjacent communities, and then, eventually, inevitably, like take over the whole world. But like you can see it obviously with like Facebook or Tinder, like any of these Web2 companies that have actually broken through the noise and gained true network effects. Like most of them started in similar regards, right? Like Facebook started at Harvard. I think Tinder started at like UCLA. Like the whole world wasn't able to use those platforms, but within their own little ecosystems, like it was a quote, complete ecosystem. And that was, I think that's what makes it interesting. So I think in 5 years, we'll hopefully start to see like more of the convergence of like a top down approach of Web2 companies adding Web3 features that are actually meaningful, as people start to really get this. And then also at the same time, we'll see Web3 companies continue to grow from the ground up, like Punks Club, Lens Protocol, stuff like that.
One thing I wanted to add real quick, Velko, is, I mean, all these different, I mean, all of us are in, the punks chat on Telegram or Discord or where, but there's so many different, um, you know, chat engines, right? We have Signal, WhatsApp. I mean, there's so much shit going on that, like, especially if, you're at an event, right? You're like, what do I check? Do I check my Telegram? Do I check this? So, like, I mean, this is my hope, and this is not a shill per se, but like, I think we all can agree, like, it's good to come to one place and see everything that, like, especially if you're, at an event. So, for us, I think it's important as we're going to be rolling out, like, our phone app here soon, and it's just going to make things a lot easier for all of us to communicate and stay in a single app.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, people in this space are so good at triaging DMs across different platforms. I mean, I like, like I really think a small percentage of the world actually like has that skill, and of course like younger people are better at this than older people generally speaking, but like it's actually like funny, like this space, it's like it's full of gamers and like tech people who have like always had the new app, and I DM some of my best friends like to this day across like 3 or 4 apps, and I like laugh at myself. I'm like, why the hell am I emailing this guy, Signal messaging him, Telegram messaging him, and Discord messaging him all in the same day? Like this just doesn't make any sense. But I think to a degree it's convenience, but hopefully as time goes along, like there will be some sort of like, you know, I don't know. Hopefully like we can merge on like maybe like historically, when the internet came to life, we merged on the email protocol, and email still dominates today. Of course, there's a million other messaging apps, but I still haven't seen like a crypto-based or blockchain-based messaging protocol take like a strong foothold yet. Although I know there's like a bunch of people working on that type of thing. But that would be kind of cool. Maybe it would help like
Why do you
narrow
think?
down the
Why do you
platforms.
think? Why do you think there has not been a strong like crypto-based messaging system yet?
I mean,
Because
probably a
it does
number of
make
reasons.
sense.
I
It
mean, I
does
think
make
part of
sense.
it is like it's probably technically like a challenge, like like storing the data like somewhere safely and like verifying every message cryptographically without having to impose signatures all the time, which is like a total inconvenience. um, but I think people are working on it. Even what Farcaster's built, I thought it was really cool, but I don't use it because nobody's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to speak into the void, right? I mean, when you're alone, it's hard. It's super hard. Has anyone ever? I mean, I'm sure you all have played around with Lens at all. I'm just kind of curious.
I sadly have not, but it's like one of those items on the back of my to-do list that I never seem to get around to.
I have to a small degree. It's cool. It's great. It's just not where I live, at this time.
Yeah. So same goes for me. I have not played around with Lens, nor Tezos, nor Solana, but it's like we like I live on Ethereum kind of, and it's kind of a big step to jump over to another blockchain, even for like a native person like myself. So that's what I'm thinking when you have like a normal Web2 person and we tell them, oh, just download MetaMask. It's so easy. To them, it must feel like for us moving over to Lens or to Solana or something, So I think there's a parallel over there. But yeah, in the meantime, if anyone wants to like send a request to come on stage and maybe share some of your thoughts, feel free as well. And about this onboarding topic, there's this thing of self custody and custodied by the platform. Back to Instagram, I was thinking that eventually they would get round to custodying NFTs for the user. So like the user would not even realize what's the underlying tech, right? So that there wouldn't be like a sign in with MetaMask step to it, but then just having the optionality to essentially like withdraw their NFT if they wanted to. Do you guys also think that in the future it's more this approach that will be taken, or we will be self-custody like all the way?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts on that. Hollow, I saw you had your hand raised. I don't know if it's related to this or not, but I figured I would call on you and welcome you to our punk roundtable.
GM from Munich. Hi. Happy to see so many familiar and unknown faces at the same time. So we interact all the time, but actually I just know a couple of you on the personal level, and this is something special, I guess, in our community. What I would love to add is not specific related to the topic before, but rather to the future of social media interaction. That's right. We are on completely different channels. I also like this even this roundtable was promoted on our closed Telegram group where only punks are interacting with each other. But we are here right now at Twitter. the whole NFT movement, my guess, started at Clubhouse, if someone OGs remember. So I guess the topics that we are interested in as a group, I would say, it's tech, it's finance, it's blockchain, it's art, it's NFT, it's community, it's creative parts, but also tech parts. And the majority of these topics actually takes place on Twitter, because NFT holders, collectors, developers, Web3, we are not completely separable from the other topics. If you check what we are talking about and discussing on our Telegram group or in different in different constellations, it's not only NFT related. It's technological related. It's AI related. It's something that drives us. This is the combination between like blockchain, art, tech, digitalization, the future of our society, if you can call it so. So strictly closed Web3 social media will not work, in my opinion, because we are all interested in topics that are beyond Web3. So I guess the best solution is to ride different waves, you know, and to be on different platforms. Some of them are closed, some of them are open, some of them are token gated, and some not. So I guess this will
Yep,
not
yep.
this
No,
will not
I
change.
tend to agree with that, and like having this closed groups is not necessarily the best approach, especially if you want kind of to grow and have the mainstream adoption. So I totally agree with that. And yeah, by the way, welcome on stage. Hollerich is a good friend of mine. He was at my 30th birthday last year when we spent my birthday in Vienna with 10 punks. So he's a good friend of mine. And he does not look like his punk in real life. At least he has hair. Whereas I look more like that punk because I don't have hair. So there you go. So yeah. Anyone else had I don't know, some related comments maybe?
Well, I was gonna go back to your comment on the self custody thing.
Let's do that.
Like I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on the topic. Like I said, I think blockchain is the most freedom enabling technology on the planet, and I think when you kind of look into that, like self custody in many ways is at its core, right? You can really be your own bank, own your own shit, like truly. Like you look at the royalties circumvention issue, like why does that exist? Well, at the end of the day, it's because people truly own their JPEGs. They can really do whatever they want with them, including transfer them to a friend for $0, you know? So I think self custody is this like super powerful and frankly like underrated thing. Obviously, like globally, but sometimes even within the crypto space, I think people forget how powerful self custody is. But I also think it's like a source of a lot of our onboarding issues. And like, everybody has heard all these horror stories about quote hacks, end quote, in crypto that aren't actually hacks. They're like people, getting socially engineered or like whatever, mishandling their private keys. But like, you know, even a lot of normies who are watching crypto from the outside, like they know to get serious when they hear the word seed phrase. They know that shit is not to be fucked around with and it has to be bulletproof. And I think that's really scary. And like, despite what we just saw with Silicon Valley Bank, so many people take comfort knowing they can call the bank and basically reverse entries in the fucking database. So I think self custody is actually something we need to probably abstract away, frankly, for mass adoption, because I don't think your average person is capable of having good security hygiene and managing one, let alone like potentially 20, 30, 50, 100, who knows, 1,000
Yep.
seed phrases over their lifetime, especially in a world that's a public blockchain and you know you need to have multiple pseudonyms for privacy. So and then the issue layered into all of this is, I think, as we've seen with certain solutions out there, like as you try to abstract away the seed phrase itself to make it easier for people, you also sort of start to slowly abstract away like the parts of crypto that make crypto crypto. And at a certain point, you're so far gone, like you're just kind of more in Web 2 territory than Web 3 territory, right? When third parties are generating your seed for you, and like they still have end-to-end encryption, and there's these guardians that can like maybe be like socially engineered, like that's all a risk to like the freedom we've designed this ecosystem for. But I also view that type of stuff as necessary at the same time.
Yeah, I think I agree with all of what you said there. Derek, I see you have your hand raised. How's it
Oh,
going?
he finally made it on. I know you connected like 3 or 4 times, Derek.
Let's see.
Yeah, I was getting super rocked. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Perfect.
Hey fam, it's nice to be here. First of all, thank you guys for doing this. I'm really glad to finally have joined you. I'm fucking psyched to finally have a punk. As you were saying, like I just bought it around a week ago, and
It's a beautiful punk.
I fucking love it. Like you don't know, like I've been grinding for around 2 years here in the space from zero and selling my art and everything. And I remember it's really eerie because I remember seeing people like they had the cool cats when I started, right? And I was like, oh shit, like I wish someday I can afford a cool cat. And then I saw the squiggles, and then I saw like every single step of the way that I saw someone buying something new that I was just like, I don't think I'll ever afford it. Obviously, like punks were not even in my horizon. I never thought that I would reach it. And suddenly I'm here. So it's really, really nice.
And you're based in Japan, someone said? Is that accurate?
Yeah, in Tokyo.
Dude, I'm going for the first time for DAO Tokyo.
Well, you have your house here. Everybody knows there's a how do they call it? Airbnb?
Yeah.
You'll have my house here. So if anyone needs to crash, please feel free.
Oh hell yeah. Well, I
We'll do
love that.
couch surfing in Tokyo.
I'm definitely gonna hit up some Tokyo punks once I'm there. I think I'm gonna be there for like almost 2 weeks. So I'm hoping on the weekends when I'm not busy with like client work and shit, I can bop around. I've always been like, I've always wanted to go to Tokyo my entire life, and I actually it was the first COVID casualty in terms of my like trips abroad, and so I came close like 3 years ago, and then COVID ruined it all. So I'm like so excited. And I didn't anticipate going. It's like work related, so it kind of just came up last minute. But I am so freaking excited. I cannot wait.
For me, it was completely the opposite. I ended up here because of COVID.
Nice.
Derek, I see Maxwell in the audience, so let me ask you a punkcast type question. How did you choose this specific punk, and like why did you go for this specific one?
Oh, so that's actually a very good question. I asked a lot of people around, some even curators and everything, and I'm fortunate that a lot of my collectors are punks. So I did the research of just like asking around and saying like, "Yo, what are the best traits? What's mostly likely to, like in the long run be more profitable and whatever." And I got a lot of advice telling me that I should get a very clean one. And I saw them and I was like, yeah, they're nice, but I need character, like I'm someone that has a lot of character, and I was like, if this is gonna be my identity here, I want something that when people see it, it's like, yeah, this guy is him. And suddenly I was scrolling around and I saw this guy and I was just like, I like this bad motherfucker. Like I see him and it's like, I'll remember this guy. Like he looks mean, he looks badass. And even though it was higher than the price that I was anticipating, I was just like, you know what? Fuck it, let's get it. And I was really lucky that the seller was agreed to lower the price for me, so everything worked out.
That's amazing. I really love that story. I'm a big fan of quote clean punks. Obviously, it's subjective, but there's definitely like a vibe there. Like if you look at my collection, it's mainly what I would consider clean punks. But when people ask me that question, like people that are eyeing the punk space and they want to get in, my response always to them is like, find the punk that you just fucking vibe with. Like you see it and you're gonna know. Like you're gonna see that face and be like, that could be my face in the metaverse or on the digital frontier. And so when I saw Forever Punks coming out with his platform and just his like moniker and alias of Forever Punks, I was like, yeah, that's like it. Like that's the idea. Like you really just got to find like your Forever Punk. And I totally I love seeing new people get in and like find such cool identities for themselves. I mean, that makes me super excited. And then for people who want investment exposure, I either tell them like, buy a second punk off the floor if you can afford it, and if you can't, dollar cost average or buy fractions of punks using NFTX. Like there's probably a slight premium or sometimes discount to that because it is like a system that has like I guess some like fees and costs built in, but generally like NFTX is such an awesome way for people to get fractional exposure to like a broad index of punks. And so when I tell people, I think I said this maybe on like when I did the podcast with Maxwell on Punkscast, but I kind of have this fundamental opinion that if you're bullish on NFTs and don't have exposure to punks, then I basically don't know what the fuck you're doing, because I really view punks as like the index currently for NFTs, similarly to how like the S&P is the index for stocks. I really like view punks as the benchmark, and partially that's because I'm like so allocated to them, and so they're like the thing to beat for myself as well. But I think for most people it's a really good index. And so from the investment standpoint, I tell people get your dream punk and whatever money you have left over, if you want like and can't afford a second punk, just slam it in NFTX and buy some fractional punk shares.
Yeah.
Obviously not financial advice.
Yeah, but I totally agree with that, and especially if you look at price action in NFTs over the recent days. You see, for example, the punk floor being like in ETH terms very stable, and like all of the other collections just being dumped down. But this specific topic of forever punk and digital identity, like I've been working with it for the past year now. And Derek, have you checked out the platform I'm working on, foreverpunks.com? Which basically we build for people like you to find their forever punk for the long term?
Honestly, don't kill me. But I've
No,
been
no, no.
preparing my latest drops, and I've just been going crazy because there's so much. Ever since, okay, so this is really interesting for again anyone that doesn't have a punk. Ever since I got one, I've gotten so busy because either I got into Telegram groups or I got into group chats here on Twitter or I got pulled into other conversations or I met so many people, and it's just insane. And that is partially the reason why I bought it, because I was so sick and tired of chasing floors, of seeing if the founders were actually doing what they said that they would, if people were undercutting. Like there's so many fucking issues with PFPs, and I just got sick and tired. It just like it took so much of my every day that I just couldn't handle it. And at some point I was just like, my wife told me, how much do we have? And I didn't even check. I started seeing all the PFPs, I started seeing my squiggles and everything, and I was like, holy fucking shit, like I can actually afford one. And suddenly it came to me and I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna sell everything and just get one because I'm just so tired of this. And I was lucky that some of the squiggles that I had, I was even able to profit off of them, which also takes me to another point that you were saying. Buy the shit that you like, because the only things that I've been able to actually flip and profit off of were things that I liked. And it was because if I liked it, that means that someone else will probably. I mean, not saying that the floor ones are not good, but if there was something about it that called you, that probably means that it will resonate with someone else. And what happened to me with the squiggles was that like I bought a fuzzy that was like way above floor, And even those squiggles dipped, I found someone who was actually making a whole collection, and he reached out to me and he was like, yo, I'll pay you this amount. I think it was like 21 ETH back then. And I was super lucky because the floor then dropped really hard. Susan was the one who told me, you know what, sell it because I don't know what's going to happen. I followed her advice, sold everything, and then boom, like 1 week later, everything dropped. And fortunately, I had still all the ETH to buy the punk. But again, like it was all because I didn't care and I bought the things that I liked and that I knew that would be prone to be more coveted in the future.
Yeah, that totally applies. And also just the general idea of like, you know, the longer you hold good things that have long-term value, like the more you make, right? It's easier to hold things when you have like an emotional connection to them, you know?
Also, what I might add is that I love that you have this stronger red background to your punk. It really like makes it like stick out. And I put out a thread about this a couple of weeks back. But you know, having a PFP that is very different, like noticeably different on Twitter, I think is really cool. And that would be like, I think, another very good feature on Twitter to have potentially 2 NFTs as your profile picture. Like I'm thinking that if you have, let's say, a Fidenza and a punk, there's currently like no way of having that in one NFT, right? So I'm thinking, let's say, I don't know if you guys know Rodo, or Phantom Scribbler. These guys have like, you know, a Fidenza and a punk, but they cannot, you know, verifiably show that in their profile. So I think it'd be really cool to have, you know, an extension feature of this NFT profile picture with having, you know, a background as one NFT and like the layover as another NFT.
I was actually speaking with a friend about this whole topic of mainstream adoption. And here in Japan, as a lot of you might know, it's funny because it's ironic. Like we think of Japan as a country with a very futuristic view, but a lot of things are very slow to get adopted here. Crypto is one of them. They've been using crypto for a long time. I mean, a lot of us know about even what happened with Mt. Gox and shit. But now they're actually embracing NFTs. But the thing is, there has been so much mud around the word NFT or the acronym NFT that they decided to not rename it, but to rebrand it for the mainstream as Web3. We're introducing Web3. We're introducing community. We're introducing the power of connections. And I think that's one of the specialties of Japanese people. They really know how to wrap things to make them sound more approachable or more reliable, you know? And I see it here everywhere. Like they suddenly started flooding all the bookstores with Web3 books. Suddenly I see conferences of Web3. I see exhibitions of Web3. And even if it's not what we know as Web3 or what we see here as Web3, like we see Cosmo de Medici's exhibitions with like the massive screens, or we see this stuff happening at NFT NYC with all this huge parties and shit. Here you'll see like maybe, for example, for me as a one-of-one artist, exhibitions of prints. You know, people will print their work and they'll put it up in a gallery and they'll show it. Where for me, it's like, dude, like you should be putting screens or projectors or something more flashy or whatever. But my point is, they're working really hard to embed this idea of Web3 being something beneficial to everybody. And especially because here there's been a system that people have followed for a very long time. That's points. People are very used to going to every single store, every single transaction that you always do incurs points and you accumulate. And it's basically the same thing that we do here. So imagine if this points, instead of being just points, they were actually a token. And that token was regulated by the government and blah, 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 blah. So because they are so used to all this system, it becomes seamless when suddenly they make the small switch. And at some point it's not even necessarily necessary to say, oh, we're implementing a token, because the points can just change into a token, you know? So I feel like as a designer, as someone that has been into Web3 for a while, as a normie, if you want to call it, because I was also a normie 2 years ago, I can say the key to mainstream adoption is seamlessness. It has to be something that doesn't feel so complicated. And until we don't have a solution that doesn't make you spend 20, 30, 40 minutes in just opening a wallet and feeling safe about doing a transaction, that's going to take a while. And I think that pushing the meta of mainstreamness so fast is something that it just won't happen. It is going to take a couple of years, but I do see it coming. And I do see it coming very fast and very strong.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, actually. And I think that ties back with the topic we discussed earlier of like custody and who custodies, whether it's the NFTs or the coins themselves. So, yeah, mainstream adoption is a hard nut to crack, I would say. I see in the crowd we have a couple of people that have joined recently. I see Curvan, I see Fagio, Lanamur, you're back. If anyone wants to join up on stage and say hi and maybe share some thoughts, just hit the request button and we'll have you on. What's up on your side, Valko or Dr. Crypto? You still here?
Yeah, still here.
I'm here.
Joining the combo. Excited that we got decent turnout. I was like afraid it was going to be like you and me in the room forever, Punk, and nobody else.
That would have also been great. I love talking to you, Valko.
Yeah, it was a riskless decision.
Yeah.
No, it was a good conversation for sure. Absolutely, it was a great talk.
But yeah, having been to many like NFT meetups, I still think that there's nothing that replaces meeting someone in person. We're in 2023, so these spaces are nice, but you always have like a special connection once you kind of meet the person, in person. You share a beer, you share a drink or something. But I think thinking of Holaric here with his VR headset, maybe in 10 years, this space will be literally just a 3D room where we just feel like all in the same space, hopefully not in Meta's closed rooms, but more in like something along the lines of on cyber, maybe. Personally, I have family all over the world. I have family in Israel, I have family in Australia, and it's very hard to have those people all together in one room. So, maybe in the future, it's all going to be just like seamless all together, and yeah.
When I see people with different color backgrounds on their punks, I get really tempted to change the color background of my punk, but I'm just afraid to soil my brand.
Honestly, I thought the same thing, because you know how there are so many different derivatives of punks, and they all have like, now the ordinals are orange, and then you have another ones, the V1s that are like kind of pink, and all that bullshit. And it comes down to what you like, in the end, whatever makes you feel right, it just works.
Yeah, no, I when I said soil, I didn't even mean it through that lens, but I guess that's like a valid point. It was more like people are so used to my punk with this exact background that if I made any change, they like might not recognize me. Because I know people who change, like they'll change their PFP and like I don't catch them in my feed. And then occasionally there's people who change their PFP and their alias. And I actually have no idea. Like I only piece it together based on like something they said specifically. And I'll be like, yo, like, is this you? Like insert old username. And they're like, yeah, it's me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how was I supposed to know that? Like, that's crazy.
That's a very interesting topic because if you think about it, I think that we were never used to being tied to a digital identity as strong as we are now, right? Because back then, like there was nothing that there were no repercussions if you lost your identity. I mean, maybe if you had your Instagram, which did happen to me because as an artist, like I have my Instagram account and I have a few thousand followers there and whatever, and I busted my ass off to get it. But in the end, like if I lost that account, well, it doesn't really affect me that much. It's not the end of the world. But in the end, if this is just the beginning of what digital identities are, what will it be in 10 years? What's going to happen if something as simple as changing your background affects you so much? You know, it's really interesting to see it in that perspective of where is this going to, and what is going to be the relevance of even your name? Like, is it going to stay forever punks? If you changed it, is nobody else going to recognize you? How many people will not be able to follow what you're doing? And that's where the identity of the punk comes in, or the PFP that you choose. It has to be something that you truly relate to, because that thing's going to stick with you for a very long time.
Yeah, following on this topic, I don't know if you guys saw the project Fubar is working on, Delegate Cash. And basically, he came up with a solution where you can rent out your PFP, rent out your, let's say, identity. Just wondering, do you guys have any thought on that? Have you like looked into it maybe?
I think it's so freaking cool.
Holaric,
Because
you have your hand raised?
oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, it was to the topic before. It's okay. To the digital identity topic. I just wanted to add something, but we can move on with the
Yeah, feel
delegate.
free. Good. Just go ahead. No, go ahead. Add your thoughts. Fine.
Sorry to interrupt you guys. So about the digital identity, it was kind of always there. So if you remember, for the a little bit older generation, you remember maybe ICQ numbers. This was very special. So you identified with your very short OG ICQ numbers, and they were traded like for a couple of hundreds or thousands of dollars. Then here I'm from Germany, so especially in Germany, like 15 years ago, very specific mobile phone numbers. Like if you have 10, like 00008, this is also some kind of a digital identity number. And there were also some elite, that traded for tens of thousands of euros. So if you asked back in the days, if you asked someone like, what's your mobile number? And they told you like, I have like 00070, they were like, wow, this is very easy to remember back then. And I guess there will be always, especially in the future, like a digital component, a digital identity for yourself. And this is why I was also very bullish, still am very bullish on punks. And this is exactly why I choose one with the virtual reality goggles, because I'm working for more than 8 years within this industry. And this is also my representation on LinkedIn. This is my representation everywhere, and also company logo. So this is going to be my like digital identity for business related stuff forever. And this will only be more of value. And think about the Nike swoosh, think about the logo of Louis Vuitton or any other logos. And this will become our logos that we have to, to cherish them. And this is also something about our responsibility to others. So if you ruin your reputation, as for example, Beanie Maxi, maybe you remember this guy, this dude, like he's gone forever. He will never be in this community. He'll never be accepted. Because he wrecked a couple of people and also others. So this brings us to something that we are responsible for, like to be for the community and to be responsible to others, not talk bullshit, be respectful, and this is how you generate value for your specific digital identity that will stick with us. So we don't going back again to writing handwritten mails, to using a fax machine, to meet in person as before. So it's the percentage of digital interaction will grow year by year and will surpass the physical interactions in the near future. So this is why the digital representation is such of an importance.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I've always found interesting about the internet, just
Awesome,
generally,
cool. Well,
also
thanks,
true
Ulrich,
in.
for adding this. Valko, have you got anything else to add, or shall we
Can you
slowly
hear
wrap
me?
up the space?
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, Valko. I think forever. I think you're rugging for him.
Yeah, weird. Message him. Yeah. I actually have to go get back to work, which is a bummer because I'd love to just keep chilling here with everyone. But we plan to do this again on Thursday. So the current plan is to run this space every Tuesday and every Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern. And we might tweak the times or the days of the week depending on like turnout. I think this is like a cool time to include East Coast US as well as like people even all the way in China. But in an effort to like maybe cover more time zones, we'll evolve the times as they go. But thanks to everybody for joining. This is really exciting. Again, the purpose is like get punks up on stage to share their collective wisdom on current Web3 trends, Web3 entrepreneurship, and to just share their stories and what they're working on. I don't think we'll stay limited to the punk community forever, but I do think our core hosts and speakers will come from the punk community. And that's really like the purpose of this space. And if you're a punk and you want to get up on stage or help co-host or suggest a topic for any of the following weeks, just DM me or Forever Punks, and we'd love to have you. The more the merrier. So thanks everybody for joining. I'm gonna wind this down, and hopefully we'll see you again Thursday.
Peace out.
Peace, punks.
Thank you, guys.